Let me share a story of an arrival in a place I thought I knew very well in advance. A few years ago, I got on a plane in California, and then I flew through a day and a night and another day and most of another night. When I disembarked at my final destination, having changed planes in Istanbul, it was 2:30 in the morning and I was in the holy Iranian city of Mashhad. There was a guide waiting for me as I came out of customs because in those days at least everyone traveling to Iran on an American passport had to come in a group and travel with a guide. So I went there in a group of one. My guide was beautifully dressed at 2:30 in the morning and he spoke better English than I did. When we arrived at the lobby of our luxury hotel, it was to hear the Beatles' Yesterday being piped through it. In one corner of the chandeliered space, I saw a tiny room behind a sign that said mosque. But right next to it was a Swarovski shop dripping in crystals and a boutique selling the latest beauty products from France. My room turned out to be a fairly Spartan place, but it came with a copy of the Holy Quran, a prayer shawl, and a TV. I turned on the TV, my first chance to experience Iranian television, and what should I see but Piers Morgan on CNN talking about gun control. 2 hours later, since it was time for breakfast, I went down to the lobby again. It was filled with young women who were tapping away on smartphones, silky hair escaping from under their hijabs. When I walked out into the street to see where I'd landed up, I found myself on a spotless, near-empty boulevard lined with blue glass towers. And when I went across, I found that nearly all those towers contained banks. I'd imagined Iran would look like Delhi. This was much more like Dubai. That evening, I went out without my guide because I wanted to see the city unchaperoned. And the taxi driver who gave me a ride into town was a highly engaging young character of around 30 who spoke surprisingly good English. He led me into the central mosque and took me to its innermost shrine, tears welling in his eyes. But out on the street again, he told me how he lived in England now, with an English wife and a baby on the way. He'd stolen out of Iran and he'd slipped into Britain, hiding out in the back of a truck and breathing through a tube so he wouldn't be detected. But every summer, he stole back into Iran to visit the hometown and the mother and the mosque that he missed so much. What was striking about this, humbling, was I was the guy who'd written a very long article on revolutionary Iran for Time magazine many years before, sitting in New York City, but drawing on the reports of colleagues who knew the place very well. 2 years later, I'd financed my first book with a 20-page article for the Smithsonian on the history of Iran. And sometime later, I devoted 4 whole years of my life to researching every last thing I could get on Iran to publish a 370-page novel, partly set there, though I'd never been. And yet, as you can tell, within 4 hours I'd learned more than from 4 years of research. And within 16 hours, I saw I didn't know a thing.